Hey y'all, what's going on? I don't usually cover Genshin Impact news per se, like what happens with the companies behind the scenes, apart from things that directly related to the game in the past. But I saw this video from Captain Cabinets. We're not going to be reacting to it, but I just wanted to give props because that's where I first saw this information. There's a bunch of layoffs happening at Hoyoverse, miHoYo in relation to kind of Genshin Impact and their other games, obviously, as well. So we can see here, apparently Hoyoverse has been laying off a lot of people unannounced recently. We can look at these pictures, people moving on, hashtag laid off. Incredible 2.5 years at Hoyoverse, moving on due to recent layoffs. You get the picture here. But looking down here, this person talks about the reason behind the wave of layoffs. It seems to be Hoyo's shift towards adapting generative AI. And we'll look at these here in a minute. Viral Gotcha News also says that nothing in Hoyoverse's content shows that they'll use AI to replace your favorite VAs, artists, writers. There's another reply here. To be clear, Anuttacon, and we'll get into who that is, exactly what company that is. Their AI is for programming or character expression, for making them interactive with the players and like a real person, and not generative AI art. Hoyoverse always shows the signs that they hate AI art many times. I believe that's in reference to, I think it was something with a couple of years back, there was a summer art competition for Genshin, and a bunch of the people who won had submitted like AI art or traced art or something, and they took the winning trophies away from them. That doesn't mean that they don't like AI art, especially for themselves if they're going to make it. I mean, the rules of that competition, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm assuming it says something about not using generative AI. While yes, they have had in the past like negative reactions to the community using it, that doesn't mean anything about them actually using it, if that makes sense. Now, maybe there's stuff that I'm missing. Maybe this individual's more, in tune with the Hoyoverse sphere than I know. Just from my cursory experience with it, it doesn't really see. I don't. There's nothing to tell me that Hoyoverse wouldn't. But let's take a look at the actual post here. You can read through it if you watch Captain Cabinet's video. She goes through it specifically. But because I'm a little bit more on the AI and tech side, I wanted to go through these different bullet points and then some of the job postings here. So yeah, there will be a little bit of a flashbang because that website only loads in white background. So looking through here, you see here layoffs, human resources department. Human resources usually is like connected with like recruiting. So if you don't, I mean, if you're having a wave of layoffs for like recruiting and HR, I mean, you don't need human resources for AI because, I mean, they're not human. But looking at this further, layoff waves in recruiting and HR, while you see anything indicative of AI being used, that is definitely some level of correlation. Maybe not causation, but there's definitely something there. Large scale language models and generative models. So for those of you not familiar, generative AI is just an artificial intelligence that can create something. It's pretty simple, pretty simple, straightforward. I mean, when it comes to you hear a lot of phrases being thrown around like GPT, LLM, things like that. LLM just stands for large language model. It's just something that it takes in input and then it gives you an input. So if I say hi, an LLM might say, hello, how are you doing today? Just because it's been trained on enough data that's what makes sense as a response. Large scale language models, ChatGPT is a language model. It uses a bunch of different things like language processing, big data sets to give the best responses possible. Video data processing and generation systems. So reading a video stream and being able to generate a video seems pretty interesting to me. Multimodal technology. Multimodal means that it's able to take in multiple inputs and kind of evaluate them for one output. Like a car that's learning to drive can take into account maybe the audio of the road around it to some degree, the visuals, the light levels, like all of these different things that can just be piped into kind of one multimodal model and take that all into account to make a decision like how long braking distance is, how fast it should be going in certain conditions, etc. Reinforcement learning and feedback systems. Reinforcement learning, or RL, is pretty common in the space. I did a little exercise for one of my classes that basically took a little lunar lander simulator. You could control the thrusters, the side thrusters and the middle thruster, and you're supposed to land in a certain zone on randomly generated terrain. Before you actually ran the final test, you had it run, I think, like 1,000 times, and if it didn't land inside, it got like a slap on the wrist. And if it did land inside, I got like a thumbs up. I don't know if you guys are how familiar you guys are with AIs, but AIs really love thumbs up. Whatever you tell them is good, they love that. And whatever you tell them is bad, they like scramble away from it. It's pretty funny. The reinforcement learning basically allows it to take like a preset of inputs and compare it to a desired output. But that's a really simplified version of it. That might not be 100% accurate description, but I think it's close enough. Intelligent agents and virtual characters. That is, I mean, creating virtual characters for a video game company. Unless the word characters means something different in AI. Data processing and evaluation. That seems to me like some pretty basic or classic data parsing, distributed systems, and GPU optimization. So basically, all of these models need trained, and they take like millions of GPU hours to complete it. If you're making, especially like custom models on your own, you need to make sure that the load is being distributed across GPUs effectively, and that you're not really losing any headroom, because if you're spending hours and hours and hours training a model and you're not using all of your GPUs like up to 100% or up to a certain whatever threshold that you have for stability and consistency, then obviously you're leaving performance on the table, and that's literally just spending money for electricity when you should be saving it, and we should have done better. This also mentions how much money people are making, and this is kind of consistent with what I've seen as senior software engineer at Google, $190,000 a year. But Anuttacon, which is associated with Hoyoverse, is paying software engineers up to $280,000 a year, which is absolutely crazy. Just tells you how much they're investing in this specific technology. Only community and marketing staff at Hoyoverse have been affected by layoffs. No widespread impact, Genshin impact on technical development personnel. Makes a lot of sense, especially if they're going all in for this AI bucket. And several of the technical experts have been transferred to Anuttacon. Compared to traditional game development models, Hoyoverse is clearly focusing on the application of intelligent personalized technologies, artificial intelligence, particularly in the exploration of generative AI and character interactions through Anuttacon. One thing that I have not been happy about, or wasn't happy about with Genshin, was like the mouth would stop moving, even if like you heard the character talking, and vice versa. It just didn't look realistic. Honkai Star Rail looked a bit better. Wuthering Waves looks a bit better. And I think Zenless looks pretty good too. I just haven't seen too much Zenless stuff. But I believe now we're going to get on to the kind of flashbang of the bright white backgrounds here as we look at the jobs. All right, so we have LLM Applied Scientist, this large language model, LLM and RAG and agent. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So basically, if you have like a PDF, like let's say for your job, if your job sends out like a PDF of what rules you have to follow for, I don't know, like uniform or something, and it's like 3 pages long, you don't know how to read it. If you slap that bad boy into an LLM equipped with a RAG, so Retrieval Augmented Generation, what it'll do is it'll separate that PDF into little bits and bobs that it can understand. Then when you ask a question like, how long is my hair allowed to be, it'll search that PDF and say, hey, from this PDF, here's what the answer is. And you can do all kinds of things. I've seen people who use RAG and LLMs to like run a D&D campaign where the RAG information is all of just the general world building of the D&D campaign, all put into one file that the LLM can then parse through way faster than a human can. LLM post training, that strikes me as like testing, making sure that the responses are good. Vision understanding strikes me as computer vision. And of course, we'll look through these individual job postings, and if anything pops out, I'll make sure to include that in the video here too. Video data processing engineer. I mean, that's very generic. Could be any level of video processing. Video generation and personalization. I don't know about the personalization part, but video generation is always kind of sus. Depends on what it's used for. And the whole point about all of this AI stuff, or my whole point behind it, is you always could pull a immoral and debatably illegal move and copy everyone's art and just start generating your own art off of it. I mean, it's always an action that you can do, the same way that I can take a screwdriver and just start poking holes in my own car tires, and like, just because I can do it doesn't mean I should, kind of crazy. personalized video generation. Again, I'm not exactly sure. Audio understanding. Looking at all of this together, I can see how they would associate the audio of a voice actor, the video of their face with different expressions, and then the LLM and the natural language processing, or NLP, kind of associate all three of those together into a multimodal model. So taking all three of those inputs, the vocals, the visuals, and what's actually said, and associating them together in a way that if the AI generates audio that's surprised, then the character's eyebrows go up and their tone goes up in pitch. That can make it really realistic. You're leaving so much on the table. Even once you've have that done, you're going to have those GPUs lying around, right? Once your model training is done, it's not like they have to perpetually generate new expressions in audio and mouth movements and things like that. They'll just record what they need, and then they can use their GPUs for something else once that's pre-recorded. So I looked through the job postings. There's not too much. It does heavily imply that they're hiring for more than just making facial expressions more accurate. Again, nothing is overtly stated. There was a lot of things about AI agents. AI agents don't really seem applicable. You see here the training framework technical staff member basically looks like they're the one who's in charge of, mentions here, the NVIDIA cluster, Kubernetes, distributed LLM training, like what I mentioned before. But I did want to give you an example of what using AI to create story would be like. Now, I am fortunate enough to have the brain space, the technical knowledge, the ability to Google, and the hardware to run some stuff locally. So we're going to take a look at that here. So just quick through together this little AI based on LLM. It's not very difficult. It's just open web UI running in a Docker container. Game story AI. Picked a base model. The system prompt that I'm giving it, it's me. You're a creative story writer for the video game Genshin Impact. As such, you're to generate responses compliant with the following rules. You may include large plot points, never to include the death of a playable character. Keep the story light, so a player who plays 1 hour a day or a few hours a week can understand. Ensure any new characters have cool new mechanics. Kind of biased generation here, but hey, let's see what it does. All right, so basically now we get to send it a message. Let's zoom out a little bit. Here we go. We get to send it a message. It'll take a minute to generate, and then we'll see what it is. Okay, one big thing to note here across the bottom of the screen says LLMs can make mistakes, verify important information. I think it goes without saying, don't use an LLM to actually come up with anything factual or to search anything factual. Always confirm anything controversial or important with a Google search, a Bing search, whatever the fuck you use. So I just wrote up quick, please write a 3-act story for the new region in Genshin Impact called Natlan. Natlan is a nation of war and has been ravaged by its fight with the Abyss. Please give a summary of the plot you create. And we're going to sit here for a minute while it generates. All right. So it gives a story title, Act 1. So I should say this model, it shouldn't be aware of anything before. I think it's December 2023. Pretty sure that's when the knowledge cutoff is. Story title, Embers of War, Ashes of the Past. Story begins with the traveler making his way to Natlan. A century-long war against the Abyss. The once mighty empire lies in ruins, its people struggling to survive. Enemy signatures known as War Embers. War Embers hold the key to unlocking Natlan's troubled past. They made a new character, Kale, the young, hot-headed warrior from prestigious Natlan clan. Kale wields a unique ability called War Focus, allows him to absorb and redirect war embers to enhance his combat prowess. Wow, a region-based mechanic. It knows without knowing. It's fine. It's awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. There's a bunch of other characters that are added in, or at least one other. The Lost Legion. As the traveler delves deeper in Natlan's history, they uncover hints of a legendary legion that once fought against the Abyss. This Lost Legion, known as the Vanguard of Dawn, was said to possess powerful artifacts and techniques that could turn the tide of the war. The traveler, Kale, and other allies embark on a quest to find the remnants of the Vanguard and uncover their secrets. Along the way, they encounter Lysandra, a mysterious masked archer who possesses the ability to manipulate echoes, residual imprints of fallen warriors that can be used to summon temporary allies or enhance her own abilities. Together, the group faces formidable challenges. They navigate treacherous battlefields and unravel mysteries of Natlan's war-torn past. Act 3. Members of Hope. As the traveler and their companions draw closer to uncovering the secrets of the Vanguard, they discover a powerful abyssal entity known as the Devourer of Wars. It threatens to consume what remains of Natlan. This entity feeds on war embers, growing stronger with each passing day. The Traveler, Kale, Lysandra, and other allies must band together to defeat the Devourer and shatter the cycle of war that has plagued Natlan for centuries. In the final act, the group discovers the powerful artifact known as Ember of Dawn. Okay, so like mixes like the names from before: War Embers, Vanguard of Dawn, the Ember of Dawn. Again, it's just generative AI. It's just an LLM, so obviously you'd want to go through and edit things if you don't like the names of characters or events that happen or anything like that. Obviously, this is just a baseline. So not suggesting that anybody does this, but you can. I mean, this is very basic. This is running off of not inexpensive hardware, but like the stuff that big companies have is incredible compared to what I have. It only takes a couple of minutes to generate this. The story of Natlan is one of war, sacrifice, redemption, with a focus on exploring the consequences of conflict and the power of hope in the face of adversity. The new characters, Kale and Lysandra, introduce exciting mechanics that enhance gameplay and offer fresh perspectives on combat and exploration. This is literally Natlan mechanics. But as you can see, even if people say, well, it only looks like they're going to do one thing here, it only looks like one thing, this has the capacity. Like, I could run this off of a 3060. I could run this off of an M1 Mac, maybe not this exact model, but something very similar. You have the capacity, the capability to do this. Unless Hoyoverse specifically states we will not do this, I really think this is a moot point. But I just wanted to point out all of this is a possibility, and moving forward as they let people go and they move towards more AI-driven tools, AI will only get better and better and better from here, especially if they're making their own. If you like this video, drop a like and maybe even a sub. Hint, hint. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I have a lot more AI content coming up. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. Have a great day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.